You guys need to log out of this Google Meet and go to the Zoom. Are you hearing me? Yep. You have the link is on the email invite. Sorry, guys.
Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Friday. I was just going to give it a couple minutes past 3 o'clock in case we have a few scragglers. But if anybody is familiar with Zoom, if you can just pop in the chat that you can hear me talking and you can see a white screen that says Oakmont at the top, I'd appreciate it. And then we will get started very soon. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I think we have a lot of people on, so I am going to go ahead and get started, and we'll let some other people join us if they're running a little bit late today. I'm going to mute some people as well here. I am Jennifer from NeoNet, and I believe, Allison, are you on under Allie by chance? I believe we might have Allison from Oakmont coming on as well. Oh. Okay, Allison's on as well. Okay. So I am Jennifer from NeoNet. We support Dazzle student information for several schools across the northeast side state of Ohio. And I believe Allison is on too from Oakmont. So I'm just going to go through some general navigating around of the Dazzle platform today and hopefully get through it fairly quickly because I know it's Friday and you guys probably want to get to your nice long weekend. But with Allison on here, she asked to organize this. She might be chiming in, and some of the things I'm going to be showing you today might have some tips about how Oakmont uses it specifically, or she might pop it in the chat because like I said, we support several schools across the state of Ohio and everybody kind of uses things. That's okay. That's okay, Allison. But feel free to put things in chat if you want me to chime into something specific here. So we are going to be working off of 2 documents today. If Allison didn't get it sent out, she'll get it sent out to you next week. And the other document that I'm going to show here is also accessible from the Dazzle application. So you can go in and get it yourself, or we can send out a blast of it after the training or early next week. So I have a document just to keep me on track, and I'm going to reference back to it a little bit of some screens that I'm going to train on you today. And then I'm also going to be referencing a document that's called the Student Information Quick Reference Guide, and it's just a way to summarize kind of what I'm going to be showing you on how the navigation works with Dazzle. Because you guys, I believe, are attending today because you might be new users in Dazzle, you're kind of lucky because over the summer, it got a new look. It kind of rebranded it. So you might hear some people in your building or some other teachers in your building saying, wow, this looks way different. Well, you guys get training firsthand about the new look on it. I do want want to mention, if you do hear that or something that I go over a little bit too fast, say, uh, if you do also hear that from teachers and they're really struggling with navigating the new, we do have a video when you log into the site, a YouTube video that walks you through how to navigate it. So it might help you if I went too fast today or you were unable to watch all of this today. Or you might want to pass this along to some of the other teachers that may have been around for a while, but when they log in for the first time, are like, wow, this looks really different from last year. So that video is out here on YouTube. I have it popped up here as well. Hopefully I'm not making you too dizzy flipping back and forth, but it's just a quick 2.5-minute video about where everything kind of looks now with after the summer release. But like I said, would look like. So what I'm going to do is start in this top purple bar up here and just kind of walk through piece by piece what all these things mean. And let me move some things here and then move on down through the application. And then, like I said, we will go back to this and make sure we highlight quite a few things that Allison wanted us to make sure that you understood where they are in the system. So in this purple area, I'm just going to go through in order. And the very first thing that I'm going to have you look at is this search for students box. So you will log into the system if you have not got your username and password from Oakmont. That is something that organization will provide to you. But once you log in, you'll have this kind of view. I might have a little bit more than you as we walk through today, but when you log in, it should look very similar with the purple bar at the top. And where my cursor is the search for students box. This is where you will be able to search for a particular student that you want to either add information to or look up information on. So in the Find Students box, you can type in things like a student's last name. You can type in a last name, comma, and a first initial. If you know a student's number, you can search by a student's number. And then the wild card is the asterisk. So it's Shift 8 on your keyboard. And what I mean by that is if I just put it in SM and the asterisk and I hit enter on my keyboard, it's going to search with everybody with the last name that starts with SM. If you're really struggling with how to spell a student's last name, if you just give it a few characters and use that asterisk, then it will find that students. So I'm just going to do a few more examples. Like I'm going to type in the last word duck, hit enter on my keyboard, and it returns any students whose last name starts with duck. I'm going to switch over to this document that I was referencing here that I will show you where it's at when we get to that question mark icon, but we'll also send it out later. On the second page, it tells you all the possible things that you can put into this search for students box and will provide you with the return. So you'll see that I told you that you can do the last name, you can do the asterisk to help you find partial names. Social security numbers are not really kept in the system anymore due to student privacy security. So that one's kind of ex-nayed, but you can search by a birth date. Each student has a state ID. You can search by that. And then they also have student ID in the system, or you can always try searching by a phone number. So this document kind of summarizes what I was explaining of how you can find a student in the search for students box. So that kind of really dives into it, but I'm really trying to go in order of the purple bar up here so I'm not jumping around and making you all dizzy. So we will come back to the Find Students box when we start navigating through the software a little bit more. I'm going to jump over to the next thing in the purple bar, which is a question mark icon. And that is where, if you click on that, there's a learning center. And this is where all the documentation is,
It says you need
where videos can be found. There's also like a quick search if you wanted to find an attendance report. You can use this as kind of like a little search Google and help you find documentation on that. And so that is where I keep referencing this document, this quick reference document that I have up here, and we can send out to you so you don't have to dig for it, but it is in this Learning Center documentation section here, okay? So if you like to study the documentation, or you have a question that you want to try to research on your own, don't forget that question mark icon is there, and it's underneath the Learning Center. Another thing under the question mark icon is a little feedback button. When I click on that, you do have the opportunity to submit us a question over here at Neonet. And it goes into all of us that work here and support the Dazzle platform. So it won't just be me that gets your question. I will be able, there's a team here that might be able to answer your question. So if you're really struggling, I do know sometimes Oakmont has some specific things, and you can reach out to the administration of Oakmont if you have a question. But if you're really struggling with something in the software, and you just click on that question mark icon and click on feedback and type your question into us and hit send, we will be able to reply back to you in an email and hopefully guide you where you need to go. Okay. And then next to the question mark icon will be your name. And the only thing I want to mention about that is where you can click the log out or the sign out. So you just want to remember to sign out when you're walking away from your desk, unless you lock your computer or something like that. So, we don't leave this up because there is some student privacy information in here that we don't want students to be able to log into your screen and see. Or if you just close your browser down, that's the same thing as logging out. But I do get that question sometimes of where is the actual sign out, log out, and it's underneath your name now.
Okay. I have to attend this.
So we are now going to move over to this sidebar, and that is where your navigation will begin when you start to navigate through the software. And we'll talk about some certain screens that I'm going to navigate to and show you here in a little bit, but this is the biggest change that happened over this summer. So if you again have that grumbling that you might hear in your same building about, well, how do I get to we use the word breadcrumb trails here. How do I get to my breadcrumb trail now? This is moved over to the side panel. I will tell you that this arrow that I'm hovering over here can collapse it if you want more screen space to work on something in the software. You can expand or minimize the side panel navigation. When you close it, you'll see there's just icons here, which are sometimes hard to understand what the icons mean, so you can hover over it and you will see the word SIS here, where if I expand, it also says the word SIS. So I mentioned the words breadcrumb trail. So a lot of times when I'm going through the training today, or if you contact us or contact somebody else at Oakmont to help you, they might say, navigate to this breadcrumb trail or navigate to this screen. So that just means you're going to start a path to the screen that you want to get to. So I'm just going to navigate to SIS student, and I'm just going to pick on contacts. You'll notice when I navigate to that screen, it builds a trail up here, and this is what we call a breadcrumb trail. So depending on the access that you get from Oakmont, you will be able to start your breadcrumb trail with one of these side menus and then build upon that. Okay. Once you have a breadcrumb trail up here, you can always click inside the breadcrumb trail as well as if you wanted to go back over here. But you'll notice if I click on the word student, it brings up the same menu options that I would have had when I expanded this section. So if I wanted to change my screen to maybe SIS student course history, I could to the screen from here as well by navigating through those blue links. So it's just a term that I'm going to use throughout the training today, building your breadcrumb trail or navigating to your screen. And the biggest learning curve is you got to start from this side panel. And when you start there, you will be able to click through and find the screen that you need to get to. Now, that being said, there are, depending on your access, there are lots of screens or ways to find things inside of Dazzle. So what I want to mention is right next to this side panel navigation is a go-to box, or we kind of like to call it like the mini Google or the mini search inside of the application. So you don't have to memorize breadcrumb trails, or you don't have to always ask, where is this screen at? You can always plug in keywords and it will return to you a list of possible breadcrumb trails that you might want to navigate to. So again, I'm just going to type in the word medical and hit enter on my keyboard. And when I do that, it just returns all of those breadcrumb trails that might deal with medical inside of this software. So we have things called medical alerts that if you have a student that has an allergy, it might be showing on this screen. So just always remember, you don't have to memorize, especially if you're new, you don't have to memorize what screen you want to go to, or if you're trying to find something new that we don't cover today, use that go-to box to find what you need. I can type the word contact and it'll bring back all the screens that have to deal with contacts. Now, just note that you might not have access to all of the screens that it returns you as a possibility to click on. It will, when you click on it, it will tell you, hey, you don't have access to this screen, contact your administrator. That if you feel like you need to have access to the screen, you'll want to contact Oakmont administration to expand your access. But it will kind of return every possibility that you put in that go-to box as that mini Google to find where you need to go. Okay. If there's any questions, you can feel free to unmute or plug it in the chat if I'm going too fast, but we'll definitely touch base after each section here to make sure we don't have any questions either. So I'm going to continue in this gray top area. Typing in the box doesn't work for me. Okay, so in this go-to box, I will tell you that you have to hit the enter key on your keyboard that is in the middle of your keyboard by your alpha characters and not use the one on your numeric pad over to the right-hand side. That is an issue or a defect right now. But it should be working. Like if I type the word absence and I hit the enter on the middle, okay, good. Then it should be working with that. Great question. All right, so keeping in this gray box up here, I just want to mention most of you on the call today probably only have access to one building, but if you happen to have access to multiple buildings at Oakmont, this is the drop down to switch between buildings. So I am in a play demo environment where we just have some fake kids enrolled in our NeoNet district. So I do have a high school, middle, and elementary, which is not always traditional in your guys' Oakmont schools. I know a lot of you have maybe just one building, but if you happen to be somebody that has access to lots of them, this is where you would change that. So if I wanted to go to the elementary, I will switch to that building. Also next to the building is a year drop down. So if you have access to Dazzle student information, you do have access to go back prior years, and then eventually the 24-25 school year will be available around early spring, and you'll be able to go forward a year eventually. But it sits you in the current year always. If you wanted to go back a year, you have to click that drop down and go back to the prior year. Okay. I do want to talk about in this side navigation that there is a advanced search option. So I'm going to click on that. We talked about searching for students up here in the purple area, and I talked to you about how you are kind of limited to what you can put in that find students box, even though there is quite a list here. If you cannot find the student or group of students that you need by using the search for students box up here, there is an advanced search option on the left-hand side. And you will see when I click on that, there are several ways that I can now find a student. So we have our traditional last name, first name. If you wanted to find, search for students that live in a certain city in your area, you can use that. But all of these tabs are tabs you can fill in to search. And I can fill out things on lots of these tabs and do a search. So I can fill out males that are in 10th grade. And I use something from this tab that are active in my building. So the only thing I'm just trying to show here is that I can use all of these fields on all of these tabs to do a search. So when I do that and I hit search, I get a return of 75 kids because in my particular building, I have 75 male 10th graders that are currently active. I'm going to go back to this advanced search because one thing that I get asked often is I got a voicemail or some sort of message from the office saying that a parent called, and all I got was the parent's name and not the student's name. So sometimes they don't match. Sometimes the parent's name and the student's name are a little bit different. So if you're struggling to find the student that relates to that parent that gave you a call or left you a message, there is a contact name search under here as well. So you can try plugging in like mom's first name that she left and see how many kids pop up with a mom that has that first name or their last name, and see if any of those kids are your kids that you are dealing with. I did mention also in the find students box and right across from this contact name, there's also a phone number. So if they, it was hard to understand their name and all you got was their phone number, you can try searching by the phone number as well. Okay, so I just want to mention that advanced search is another way that you can find your student or a group of students. So I'm actually going to do that search one more time because I want to show you when I get a return kind of what you can do with that information. So I'm just going to go ahead and do 10th graders male active again and hit search, and you'll see my list will populate in the middle of this screen here. So if you knew a certain student that you wanted to work on, or if you wanted to return back a group of students, when you click on their name that is in hyperlink blue here, it will, let me pick on a good kid here. It will put their name up top here, and this is what we call the student is in context. So you'll hear that term sometimes as well. Put the student up in context and then navigate to this screen. So when I have Donald Duck up top here, when I start navigating to certain screens inside of Dazzle, I'm looking at just Donald's information. When I did a group search like that, it saves my search so I can actually use these arrows to go from kid to kid. So this was the next kid in my search of my 10th grade male females. And you'll see the name will change to the next kid in the list. It also saves my list that I searched here over all the way over here. There's a little bullet list icon here, and you'll see that my list came back up here. So I don't have to redo my search if I was like, oh, I want to go back to the kid with the last name of B and look at that kiddo. I always have my search saved in here as well. Okay, so again, when you search for a student, any way you do it, whether it's the search for students or the advanced search, you'll want to click on their name to put them up top in context before you start moving through the application. If you're super lucky and you have a kiddo who has a very unique last name and you searched for them and it's the only kid in your building that has that last name, it's going to automatically put them up top there for you. You won't have to click on their blue name. I wish I had an example to show you that, but when I do a search for duck, I always have two of my kiddos and I have to find out Donald and put him up top there. Another very common thing to do when a student is up top is, unfortunately, this name used to be blue, like a hyperlink to kind of indicate to you that it is a clickable field. But with the new look over the summer, they just kind of made it this boring black. But I just wanted to show you that a lot of people will go ahead and you can click on Donald's name again, and it'll take you to a quick screen where we have some read-only information, very quick way to find the student's phone number, the legal guardian for the student. We'll talk about how to find all of their contacts. So to find grandma, grandpa, the neighbor. But this one will quickly at least show you who the primary or legal guardian is of that student and any phone numbers that are in on there. Again, it's just read only. We can find out the student status, their birth date, ethnicity, how long they've been in your building. That's what the admission history up here and shows you. And then a larger view of their picture if you're a particular building that has us upload the student pictures. So again, the way I got to this screen is I put the student up top and then I clicked on their name, Donald Duck, here again. And then because they try to make it easy or even more easier for you is when I clicked on his name, there's this I want to drop down box. And these are what the software developers in the state of Ohio feel like are some of the quick shortcut things that people like to get to every day. And they put those in this I want to. I don't have control of what's in this I want to box. It's just things that they have felt or they have heard are things that people go to often throughout the day. So the I want to box is here, and this just simply takes you a quick way to those breadcrumb trails that we're going to talk about. Another way to get to them, you can do the side navigation, you can use your go-to search, or there's a quick view here. This upside down caret that's next to Donald's name is also the same I want to drop down box as well. Okay. Any questions so far just about the navigating through finding a student or what a student in context means? Okay. So one of the next few parts, okay, thank you. The next few parts of the agenda are some screens that Ali has requested that we specifically kind of look at for Oakmont purposes that you might be navigating to a lot or you might be using a lot in your day-to-day job. So the first one is contacts. So I mentioned on that screen, you can quickly see a read-only view of the primary contact, but there is a screen, a breadcrumb trail here that says SIS Student Contact Summary, where it can get you a list of all the contacts that have been entered in on a student. Who enters those? That would be a question for Oakmont, but the system does allow you to enter unlimited amount of contacts. So if you guys want to put in the neighbor, a sibling, friends, anything you want to put in there to be able to, okay, Ali says enrollment does that. So if you are missing contacts, you want to talk to them. So the breadcrumb trail I have on the paper, again, I can just go to SIS, student, and then contact summary. And because I have Donald up top here, I am now looking at all of Donald's contacts that we have in. You can put in unlimited amount of phone numbers, unlimited amount of contacts, comments about the contact you might be able to find here if enrollment's putting that in. So Ali's putting in the chat if you want to share any additional contacts with the enrollment department and put the new number in the notes as well. So I have a mother, I have a father, I have a guardian, I have his dentist. All of that information is found on the contact screen. The contact screen is also under the I want to. So if you like that I want to quick way to get to certain screens, it's under the I want to view contacts and it's going to take you to that screen. Okay. I just realized because I have Donald up top here that I did forget one other navigation thing that I wanted to mention, and then bring up this document again. And that is, what are these icons that are next to Donald's name? So Donald is our kind of our test case. He seems to have every scenario possible. But like I said before, there are ways to put like alerts on children. So if I'm guessing probably the enrollment office probably does that as well. But if they have a medical alert, if they have a disability alert, there's custody alert. So you will see a picture of this icon here and what it means. These are the old icons before we switched over the summer. So for the people that have been in your building that have been using it for a while, they're used to seeing these type of icons, but these are the new icons that are in there. So you'll be able to reference this document if you're not sure what it means. Or when we go back to Mr. Donald here, you can hover over top of it and it'll tell you what the alert means. And then if you have access, you will be able to click on the icon and it'll take you to the screen that says if the student, what the student's custody alert is in this particular example. So we have put in that dad does not have permission to pick up Donald from school. Once we added that in, it made an alert next to his or her name. And then you will also see the breadcrumb trail it built here. It automatically did that. And then if you wanted to manually navigate to that breadcrumb trail, it is there as well. And then I also, because I'm on this page here, There is also on this paper a little icon cheat sheet of some things you might see in the software. So when we get to this next screen where I believe you have permission to add notes to students, you might see this pencil icon where after you add it, you'll be able to edit it. You'll be able to see if records are locked. That's what this is. So I just want to mention that on the very bottom of this document that has all the icons and the quick reference guide, it does also give you some explanation of some other icons you might see in the software.
It's like I just want to
Let's
get all
go
my
back to
grades
the
done.
next one, which is
Can't finish the other thing
notes.
I need to have.
Now, I might rely on Allie a little bit to pop some things in the chat here about what specifically Oakmont uses notes for, but I am going to navigate to SIS student notes, which you will have this document here with this breadcrumb trail on it if you need to reference back to it. But on this page, you will have an add student note button. Again, you have to have the student up here because you want to add notes specifically to the student that you are working on. And then it is just a free form checkbox to put information in on. If you mark it private, that means only you will be able to see that note. But if we keep it unprivate, other users in your building that have access to the screen will be able to read this note. Now I'm sure she's typing yes. I believe, yes, you guys use this to track when you call a parent. So Allie is saying calls, communications made to the students and the family need to be logged in the Dazzle notes section. So when you are communicating or reaching out to the parent, I believe that Oakmont wants you to document that on this notes page. She also says discipline actions should also be logged on this page. If you have any questions specifically, go ahead and pop them into the chat and Allie and I can read through them and try to address them. But, behaviors, she says. It is just putting the student up top, navigating to this notes screen, adding a note. Keep in mind that it does track your name that you typed in that note. So you want to be conscious of what you're typing if you are not miking it, priving it, and allowing others to see it. But I do think Allie also, I've seen Oakmont, they want pretty detailed information in here. So this is where that pencil is. So if you did make a mistake or you want to change some of the wording, you'll be able to pencil it, open up that box, change whatever you want to put in, and then save it. It would only be a change if what you were doing, you typed in wrong. If the next day you did another reach out or another call, you want to add another note in here because I think they want to see each time that you do that. Is there a question? Okay.
Got 5 more.
Good deal.
Gonna make it.
Plugging along, the next area is attendance. So there are 2 breadcrumb trails that I have listed on this document of attendance screens that Allie and I have talked about in the past that seem pretty important to Oakmont. The first is just the students' attendance. So I am looking at Donald Duck and I'm going to look at how his particular attendance has been this year. So I can use my breadcrumb trail that's already built here and click on student to continue that breadcrumb trail, or I can build it from going to the navigation side. So I'm going to go to SIS student, attendance, and school absences. This breadcrumb trail, SIS student attendance, school absences, is matching what we have in this document here for you. So when we go over to Donald, we see that he has missed a few days this school year already. It will put the most recent date at the top. However, all of these blue columns are clickable for you to sort by. So if you wanted it to change it to be since the first day of school, you can change that order. If you wanted to change it to, sort by, I don't have a good example because we don't have two unexcused absences here, but if you wanted to sort it by the different types of absences, you can click on those. So this is just a quick screen of all the absences for Donald so far and who last modified that record. Another thing that we have showed in the past is the student's absence intervention page. So if you're not familiar, and while I'm talking here, I'm actually going to switch back to the prior year and show you a kid because we don't have any kids in our database that have met a threshold for absence truancy yet. So give me a second. But if you're not familiar with the House Bill 410 truancy laws or truancy laws in the state of Ohio, school districts are required to do some things with students when they have missed so many hours. And part of that is putting them on an intervention, putting them on a plan, putting them with a team, etc. So I believe that Allie just wanted to show you this screen is available for students that once they meet the thresholds, there are different thresholds in the state of Ohio. This screen will show you the total number of hours they have missed and if they meet that one of those thresholds. So I had to go back a year to find a kid, but this kid missed 84 hours in the entire school year, and you're only allowed to miss 60. If you go over 65, then that requires you to meet one of those threshold where it requires some intervention. He also missed 78 unexcused hours. So you can hover over these and it'll give you a little bit more explanation. So this student had 78 unexcused hours. That's what it's showing here. This particular student, we did put on a plan. We did put some information in. So under this intervention plan tab, I'm able to tab through here and put or read who's on the absence intervention team, when the team was created, when the plan was created, if there was contact involvement made in regards to absence truancy. Now that might also be on the notes section, I'm not sure, but we on our district, we put in who we talked to due to the habitual truancy. And then this red box here just kind of summarizes this information of this particular kid because he missed so many hours last year, what we did with him in terms of putting him on an intervention and on a plan with a team. So you, I believe, have access to go to the student absence intervention. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but Allison, but I don't think they're actually putting this information in, but if they wanted to review it, it was there for them to see. I am correct. Okay. Just to see. All right. But it is a good summarization of what's going on with the kid throughout the school year. I know it's pretty early this year. That's not going to be very exciting, but if you do run into a kid that's having some attendance issues, the student absence intervention screen might give you some guidance of what's going on in terms of trying to get them to get some absences, not removed, to turn their absences around to start coming to school. All right, so I had to switch back to this current year. The other thing the next thing is a student's schedule. So I put two kind of links here. One is the full breadcrumb trail, Or I put in that you can go to that I want to box and also look at a student's schedule. So I have my student. I'm going to use that I want to box and just click on view edit full schedule. And down below, because I have Donald up top here, you can see he's definitely our case student because he has a lot of stuff going on here, but you will see the classes that he is currently enrolled in. I will tell you that I believe with Oakmont students enroll in classes and then oftentimes when they complete them, they will get dropped off their schedule. So there is a section at the top of this screen where I can check the box that says dropped and hit search. And then it would show me also classes that they're currently in, and then maybe also courses that they have dropped. It defaults to what they're currently in. So if you want to take a look at that information, you need to check this box and hit search. Okay. So here's that breadcrumb trail, or I just did the I want to box. Moving on, there is a screen called Student Mark Entry. So once that student has the schedule, I believe a lot of you on here are kind of responsible for putting in the grades once they complete that class. So I do have on this paper, or for progress reports, I guess is what we use that for, the screen where you're putting in the mark for that class. So it says student marks, student mark entry. When I go to this screen, if I scroll down here, it's kind of confusing because you're not seeing the information that you want to see. It's asking you what reporting period you want to put in the mark.
Thank you for not forgetting.
I have a lot of stuff on here. At Oakmont, there's not going to be as many boxes for you to check. I believe it's just a final or a semester grade. You'll want to check the box and hit apply and view marks, and then your screen will change to where the person will be able to put in the mark for the student. Once you, let me pull up this. I have another little thing on the paper where it says show marks list, and that's when I'm referring to this little hyperlink here. When I open that, I do have a list that pops up over here, and these are the valid things that you are allowed to put in the mark box. So I can't type a letter E because it's not one of the options over here. It will give me a upsetting message when I try to save that. But if I put in a B and I hit save changes, you will see that the green box will pop up that your changes have been saved successfully. Okay. I'm going to take that out because we're not quite ready to give him a grade yet. And then also Oakmont uses the screen of sys student marks and then teacher comments, and I believe this is also from progress reports. So when you come to this screen, if you are a teacher that's putting in comments for progress reports, you will find your name in this drop down. I have lots of names because I have master access. You will find your name in here. You will find the class that you are wanting to put in the comment for that particular student. And then for you guys, you're going to hit add new phone comments. And that little tip is on this paper here that you guys use add free phone comments. When you come here, there is a type in this drop down. You're just going to put the first option in there that says general mark, and then you're going to type in a comment for the progress report. Donald would do better if extended more days.
So like zero, zero, zero. So you need to have a
And
conversation.
then same with that
He was
art screen, you're going to
it's
assign it to the final,
he was
and then you're going to check the box include on
people,
report card.
blue people. I literally started trying to
And then you'll hit
schedule and I
send.
only got through the daily schedule. I only got through part of. Well, I know Cummings was like.
And then it'll have a running history here of all the comments for that particular class throughout the week.
I told her before that happened, I was like, he was so disrespectful today.
Chris Rondon?
Yeah.
Wait, what Chris Rondon?
If I missed anything on that, Allison, let me know.
Okay. I thought you said.
But those are the two screens where you'll be putting in
This is just
marks and comments related to the course that you're teaching to the student.
But this is the same mother who came up here last year and told us she was thinking.
3 more screens to just quickly show you that we have run across that the Oakmont users also touched on next. How can we retrieve a list
His
of
mother.
students who have completed a
His
class?
mother. I'm keeping this in my room.
How can we retrieve a list of current students who have completed a class? That might be the next screen I'm going to show you, but are you talking about students that are in your class that have completed it?
Yeah.
And then, yes, I do believe Oakmont puts an end date on a student when they complete the course.
How many times did he come? 5 times?
Yeah, the good thing is he never comes to school.
I think he's been here more this year than he was all last year.
This is Dave. I
Go
don't know.
ahead.
Can you
Go
hear
ahead.
me?
Yeah,
Oh,
I can.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm new to Oakmont. Welcome.
No
Thank
problem.
you. And Allie and I had a conversation about this, but as you're going through this, we were one of the things I'm learning in the role is compiling a weekly list, or at least a list of our students who have completed a class, earned a mark, so we can build that for credit, for notification, or for our purposes, for our accounting purposes. So I just wondering if Dowsett allowed us to do create a list of students who have completed classes. And then that was that first question. The second part was when we closed out our class, we went to the marks and hit the edit bar, and I put the date, and then all of a sudden it showed it was dropped. And so we realized, oh, nope, nope, nope. We didn't want to drop the class. We wanted to, it already had the mark. It was already graded out. So if that question makes sense.
It should still let you put the grade in if you drop the class.
No, I put the
Okay.
grade in. Well, the process was I found the student, put the grade in, we did
Okay.
the marks, and we realized, well, we probably need to show that the class has been completed. So we hit the edit, which probably was not correct, but we hit the edit icon, and I selected the date, and then it showed up as it being dropped as opposed to. But again, I did not navigate to where you are right now. So.
Okay. It will automatically make the course into drop status if you put an end date in there. So if that's not what you guys want to occur, then you just should not put an end date in. But then I also understand it can be confusing to find what they're actually taking at this moment of time. It's probably what you're going to say next.
Yes.
But Allie put in the chat, the end date is the last day of the school year for every class.
Is that a default? Or is that something we need to add?
We want to add the grade when they finish. So, Allie, are you saying you want them to drop the course with using the last day of school?
Yes. You also
Okay.
So
and is that, let me go.
He was like, it was yesterday. He was like, you know how he called home and his dad was like threatening me and screaming at me?
No.
Oh, yeah. So,
over what?
So me and Miss Tuck called his dad for a fight that almost happened in my room.
It still puts it in dropped status as soon as you put an end date in there. So I'm not sure if that's what he wants.
He didn't answer, so he left a message. So he called back.
We don't want. I don't think we want to drop because then it shows that it wasn't completed. Right?
he said
No, it's still, if there's a final grade in there, it will show it's
all the stuff
that
for
the
like
student
15 minutes.
earned the credit and completed the course.
Yeah, I told Tuck and stuff.
Thank you.
All case noted.
Yeah. As long as there is a
Make sure you get it in a case.
grade, and I know mine's going to look a little bit different than your guys's because I have lots of boxes going across here. But if there's a grade in the final column, that's how they earn the credit. Obviously, it has to be a passing grade because if you put an F in there, it will say 0 credits earned. But as long as they're a passing grade in there, that's how they
That's
earn
good.
credit.
Good job. Good recovery. Yeah.
Does that help? And then if we need to circle back, David, or submit a ticket to us about running a report or a list of students that have completed the class, maybe we can do that in a separate ticket, or so Allie can contact me and then send it out to everyone.
So
If that
he
helps.
told Daniel to tell me that he thought I was young and cute, and that to tell
All right, so
to tell me that he
3 more screens. I do want to navigate to SIS student course history and then student course history. And this might play a little bit into helping David as well, or maybe it's something different. But on this screen, there will be a list of all of the courses that the student has completed, not only at your building, but also if they brought a transcript from another district or building, then it's usually added into this screen. So you'll see Donald here, if I scroll down, he has some courses that he brought with him from an Indiana high school, from a Mount Healthy high school. So those will be added to the screen. And then as soon as you put a final grade on a course taken at your building, it will also show up on this screen. It also has at the very top total attempted credits, total earned credits as a quick summary for you to see how that student is doing towards getting all the credits they need, especially if you're at a high school building to graduate.
I call him Travis Barker because we call him MGK.
Okay.
It's funny. He wrote in his journal, and he said.
Another one is if I go to SIS student and then assessment, we have several assessment screens inside of the software. I'm going to pick on end of course exam because I'm with Donald Duck here. That's a high schooler. So if you have access to the assessment screen, then depending on which assessments you have access to, you will see these 2 columns. Not everybody might not have access to all the assessments, especially if they block you from seeing preschool because it's not needed. But in the first column, I'm going to click on end of course exam. Here is a screen of the end of course exams that Donald has taken because I have him up top. There's a pencil, there's a trash can, and there's an add button if you are responsible or know scores that might need to be added or adjusted. Usually if they take the test at your building, those scores are imported from your administration, but if you have a score the student brought from another school, those will be added on this screen. So this is a quick summarization of how Donald did on his end of course exams. Another one common might be for people on this call would be the high school alternate assessment exam. Like I said, Donald's our case study, so he has all sorts of things. So that is SIS student assessment, high school alternate assessment.
Yeah, just take them. Just go. Take them, please.
And then there is one last screen that I want to show. It is kind of combining the last 2 screens that I provided. If you are a person that does work at the high school level, there is a graduation summary screen which will summarize kind of the credits, where they're earning those credits, in which area, which tests they have passed. And so that is SIS student graduation points and then graduation points summary. So this is a read-only screen pulling information from that course history, from those marks that you're putting in, from those assessments that are getting put in, and then it summarizes it in what I like to call a pretty sheet view here. There's different icons on this one as well. The orange means the student is in progress. Let's see, this student has completed their economics and financial literacy, but he hasn't started getting any of his social studies credits. This screen is interactive. You can drill down even further, so I can click next to English and it'll show me read-only information from that course history screen of the courses that he has passed related to English. If he's currently enrolled in an English class at your building, it'll show down here. And it'll show you that if he passes that class, then he will be up to the 4.5 credits earned. But right now, this particular student only has 3.5 on the 10 credits for English.
Because I'm like, they look at me.
So
They look at you.
a lot of these links are interactive and will give you more information if you want to drill down about how Donald's doing towards graduation progress. Down here are the requirements for Ohio graduation right now, and it talks about the state assessment. Again, I can click on this view and it'll show me read-only information about those tests that I was showing you on that other screen. If they're competent in the algebra or English 1 area, that is one of the requirements. If not, and they're not the test takers, they have these additional options that they can do to get towards graduation. And then we have the seals as well. So this isn't where you enter the information. This is just a summary screen of how the student is going towards graduation.
This left.
And yes, David, I will provide this to you. I think Allie has a copy, but I'm going to make sure she has an updated one. And then I'm also going to make sure that she can easily find this guide here and she'll send it out to everybody.
So I need to like start.
So though that wraps up the like specific breadcrumb trails that she wanted me to make sure that you knew where they are and kind of what they looked like. It's 4 o'clock. We were just going to make this for an hour, but I can stick around for a few minutes if anybody wants to ask any specific questions or I didn't show a screen that you were hoping to see today. If not, I'm going to stick around, but if you're going to jump off, I hope you have a fantastic Labor Day weekend. I think the weather is going to be great and we all need a good long weekend, I'm sure. But thank you for joining, and if you have any questions, pop it in there, or I'll hang on for a few minutes if you want to unmute.
But she keeps like I come to her and I ask her about
You
stuff.
guys are very welcome.
I didn't know any, and I'm like, I did a horrible job because I didn't even think like the daily schedule. She like didn't realize that kids would show up for class when it wasn't their class. And I'm like, yeah, you have to like print out the schedule. After this week, I think there's like 50 kids starting next week. I know. We need the kids. Well, now I'm like, she's muted herself. And there's only 9 participants left. I thought my headset died. It seems like she might still be talking. Okay, yeah, it says thank you all. So I can leave. Okay, yes. Let me stop recording. It's not fucked up like last time.